Okay, so we're here to talk about a tool today that we're going to use online that not many people know about and can be very helpful and can do a lot of different things for us in a lot of different ways. It's called Google Sheets. Okay, it's a tool that Google allows us to use, okay, on the Chromebooks or through Google Drive. And we're going to walk through some of what it can do today, and you're going to complete an activity based on the capabilities that it has. So I'm in my drive. What you're going to have to do is you're going to open up your drive and you're going to look for Google Sheets. When you open it, it looks very similar to this. And what this is a spreadsheet. Okay, there's a bunch of different cells that we call them that you can put different things in. Okay, and later we're going to use specific things about each one of these cells to help us do certain things. So what Google Sheets does is allows us to keep track of a whole bunch of different numbers, and it actually can do a lot of math for us. So what I want to do is I want to actually practice creating a graph just from Google Sheets, and it's a lot easier than what you might think. So what I'd like to walk through now, like I said, is a real-life example. What I brought up, and I will show you in this screen here, is a list of goals that were scored by a guy named Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, very famous hockey player, very good throughout a number of years, and what you see here in this column that I'm going to highlight is you see his goals per season. Alright, here in the highlighted. I'm not going to worry about this category right now. That was his games played. What I really want to do is focus on the goals that he had per season. Now, in this list type of setup, it might be hard to compare goals from season to season. However, using our Excel spreadsheet, what we can do is we can graph based on the year and the goals that he scored. So the first thing we do is we go up here where it says Untitled Spreadsheet, and we want to name our spreadsheet. And while I do this on the computer, I want you to follow along on your own computer. Okay, so what you might have to do is you might have to pause the video, you might have to go back, you might have to fill in these things later on. Okay, so I'm going to go to Untitled Spreadsheet. I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to type in Wayne Gretzky goals per season. Okay, Wayne Gretzky goals per season. Now, we have to label our spreadsheet so it knows exactly what we're graphing. We're comparing the goals per season. Now, the seasons we do in years, so my first column, I'm going to type in years. Underneath the years heading is where we're going to fill in our years that he played. The B column is going to be our goals. We're going to fill that in as well. Under the years column, I'm going to go in and fill in exactly what I see over here minus these numbers that you see. I'm just going to worry about the first year. So, for example, the first thing that I'm going to put in here is 1979. I'm going to move down to the next cell. I'm going to go 1980. The next cell, 1981. And so forth until I have all of the years. What you should be doing right now is following along with me, and you might have to pause the video if for some reason I am going too fast. Okay? It is understandable if you need to pause the video. Please do so if needed. I'm going to fill in the last couple dates here. 1990. So I have these years. Okay, I have the years that he played in. The next thing that I need to do is I need to fill in the goal totals. So this is what he scored in those years. In 1979, I can look here and I can see that he scored 51 goals that season. So I'm going to type that in, 51. I'm going to keep going down the list, 55, 92, had a very good year there, 71, 87, 73, 52, 62, 40, 54, 40, 41. Obviously, you may not be able to fill in those as fast as I can, and that's okay. Remember, you can always pause the video at any time, okay, that you need to. At this point, I do not need this data anymore, so I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to open up the screen further. Now that you have the years and the goals inputted, our next task is to make a graph of this. So what we're going to do is a few things. The first thing we need to do is we need to highlight these fields, highlight all of them, including the years and the goals, to tell Google Sheets what we need to make the graph of. Once we have highlighted everything, you click the button Insert. When you click Insert, you see a list of things. You're going to go down to the Chart button. Once you click on the Chart button, it will give you a variety of things to choose from. Okay? You can see that it can make a scatter plot. It can make a line graph. It can make a line graph that is shaded underneath. It can make a bar graph. It can make a pie graph. And then it can make a histogram. Our job here is to figure out what graph is going to make the most sense and what graph is really going to be the best representation of our data. For this particular graph, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the line graph, okay, where it has years on the y-axis and years on the x-axis and goals on the y-axis. From here, what I can do is I can show that in 1981 he had 92, 1982 71, okay, and I can follow my different data points and it's going to be accurate. What you're going to do is you're going to insert that graph right into the spreadsheet. You can click and drag and move it, and you have just created a line graph from a set of data. Now, we could have done this on paper and pencil, and it could have taken us a very long time. But what I've shown you is a simple tool that you can use, okay, very easy, to input a graph right in with a set of data. Okay? It's your job to figure out what the categories need to be. So, for example, years and the goals. And then the next would be to highlight and insert the correct chart. Okay? The next activity I'm going to have you do is actually make another sheet. So you can just add a sheet down here. And you're going to graph your total words per minute in terms of your writing. Okay? We're going to do that next. There's no video on that. But what I did want to do is I want you to show you an overall, okay, kind of a brief thing on here. We can get into more details later. However, I did want you to get the basics down. Inputting the data in, selecting the data, inserting a chart, selecting the chart, and putting it in there. Okay? Remember, you can always rewind the video. You can always pause the video. What I need you to do is make sure your graph looks exactly like this. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to share it with me. Okay? So when you pull up the blue share button, what you need to do is you need to type in what you see on the screen right here. Okay? This is my name at wintonwoods.org. If you need to pause the video now to make sure you type it in correctly, do so. Okay? But what you're going to do is you're going to share that with me so I can see it. This is what I'm going to grade you on today. Okay? If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Alright, remember, rewind, pause, fast forward. Once you get done with this, I will move you on to your next assignment. Thanks.